Peter, what's happening, man?
How's it going? Thanks so much for having me, man.
Dude, thanks for taking the time out of your day to join the Playbook HQ podcast. For our listeners who don't know SISU yet, what is SISU Sauna?
So SISU is a Finnish concept with no literal translation to the English language, and it means perseverance, tenacity, bravery, and grit. And we've created a community around that. And it just so happens that we sell and manufacture saunas here in the United States. And we started up 3 years ago, and now we've built it out into a community of resilience and recovery.
Wait, you said 3 years ago is when it kind of started?
Yeah. So actually it's coming on 4 years now, which is crazy. Back in August of 2022. So originally I was a personal trainer and managed a gym, and then eventually owned this gym up here in Cleveland, Ohio, where I grew up.
Okay.
And I found sauna through this process of training athletes and training clients.
Yeah.
And then we ended up getting one for our house. And as a consumer, we purchased one. We liked it, but we saw that there was a lot of opportunity for us to make it better. And so we ended up actually going into business with the manufacturer that we purchased our sauna off of to sell their units as a distributor. And through that process, we found a lot of issues from selling saunas that we thought that we could actually change and shift and make better. So that's how SISU SISU as people know it, came about. We actually decided from an 18-month stretch without a single sauna sale, we were like, this is becoming way too much of a problem to just sell one sauna. Let's just go to manufacturing ourselves and create the ultimate playbook, if you will, for creating a great sauna community and a sauna brand.
Hell yeah. We'll get into the benefits in a second, but can you kind of take me through the current lineup of what you guys offer?
Yes. For us, it's a very, very simple and small lineup. So we have our very first product, the Edwin Barrel, which is a 6-person barrel sauna. Depending on who you ask, you could squeeze 10 people in there. It's kind of like a clown car, if you will. Second, we've got the Eddie Barrel, which is our 2 to 4 person sauna. The third one is our Charlie Cabin, our 2 to 4 person cabin sauna. And then the Crew is our 6-person cabin sauna. And those are our 4 main SKUs. And then over the last year or so, we've launched our CC electrolytes, a bunch of our accessories, merch. And then this year we're coming out with some more tier 2 products.
Cool. Yeah. Take me through like just the journey so far. What have been some of like the hardest obstacles you've had to navigate?
Cool, man. If you ask any business owner, and especially any founder over the last 5 years, you know that it's easy to start up a business, but it's hard to scale a business because there's either so much competition in the space or in each industry, and there's also a lot of distraction out there. And so for me, I really view business as a contact sport in that like every day there's highs and there's lows, and you have to be able to be gritty. And, what we always say is like channel your inner Sisu, like you have to be resilient. And so every quarter kind of brings its own set of problems. Like as you're growing, you unlock a new set of problems. So I would say if you were to say like one main problem or like one main like hardship that we had to endure, there was a moment a year and a half ago that we bought roughly $400,000 to $500,000 worth of inventory. And all that inventory ended up showing up about 3 months after we actually needed it, which put us in a position to where we're having to reach out to our customers that put money down on their product, and we had to let them know like, hey, this is coming in late, but we're actively working to find other inventory for you. So we ended up drop shipping through a variety of different companies, having to bite the bullet on cost and payment terms and everything. And it was one of those moments where I realized we have so much control about inventory management, inventory planning, and just the monetary part of understanding like cash flow. And it was in my opinion, perfect like lesson of an MBA program of operations strategy 101 and operations execution 101. So that one instance of inventory slip up ended up cascading into a month delay of just having to continue to kind of play catch up. So it wasn't really until Q3 of last year we were like, all right, we're actually in a really good position again. So what doesn't seem like a big thing if you are in any sort of inventory management based business, those things do add up over time, and you have to make sure you have the pulse on it, and you have to put the right people in the place.
Yeah, you got to get gritty too, like you said, just like the brand meeting, you got to get gritty, adapt, find ways to get customers their product, and then I feel like communication is key when that kind of stuff happens.
Right. Yeah, completely agree. So it's how to me, like the business only grows as good as the leaders do. And as the leaders grow, so does the whole team. So if our leaders on our team, including myself, are gritty, and that's what every single person, regardless of where they're at in the business, see, everybody's gonna be willing to roll up their sleeves and stick with it for the long haul.
Yeah. But let's get into the benefits of sauna. Talk to me about the benefits.
So sauna, to me, is really a catch-all, specifically when you look at traditional sauna therapy, as opposed to infrared or steam sauna. Traditional sauna therapy is really coming out, especially over the last 7 years, as the kind of the paramount when it comes to any sort of sauna modality. So what it looks like, what we're finding from this 2018 study out of Finland, which had the most number of test subjects in it. It was 4 times weekly, minimum of 176 degrees for 15, 20 minutes at a time, is linked to the best data source when it comes to all-cause mortality decrease, as well as staving off Alzheimer's and dementia, increases in quality of sleep, increases in REM sleep, as well as decreases in anxiety, plus VO2 max performance, all off this one study. And it's just one of those things where we're realizing that you have to have good heat stress. You can't just be in 150 degrees, 160 degrees. 176 degrees is really the minimum threshold, all the way up to 215 degrees if you have like a wood burning sauna. That is really what we want. But to me, it's really simple. It's repeated, consistent exposure to sauna is what's allowing people to be able to live longer and live better. So to me, it's like, why would I not try to get everybody, regardless of ability level, age, fitness ability, to get into a sauna? It's going to help the elite athlete. It's going to help my mom. It's going to help my grandparents. It's going to help everybody. It's also, to me, the ultimate vehicle for forging community and grit, because you don't have your phone. You've got 6 to 7 people. Sometimes they're strangers. Sometimes they're friends and family, all together with no phone. And you're talking. And then all of a sudden, 15 to 20 minutes comes and you're like, this is really, really hard. And you want to get out. But then you kind of have not only the peer pressure of the people inside the sauna with you telling you to stay in, but also you know that you're trying to stay in. And I think it's just a great tool for building those things of connection and grit. And it's ultimately the reason why we're in it for SISU, is like building community and building tougher, stronger minded people.
Yeah, they say the best business meetings happen in the sauna, right?
Every business meeting I've had in the sauna has produced at least a 10x ROI. Whether that's like, when I mean 10x, like, it could be subjective or objective. Like, some of the best business ideas or best business relationships, some of the best partnerships started from a random meetup in the sauna, and then we're texting after, and then that idea comes onto paper into a Google Doc, and then Google Doc to a presentation, and then here we go. And it's really interesting. It's one of those things where I don't think people realize it's not a luxury, it's really an investment, and it's a timepiece for you that you're going to have for a very long time. And a lot of people that I know that have saunas have created a lot of, whether they're entrepreneurial or not, have created a lot of positive ROI in their life just through the use of sauna. Yeah.
What do you recommend to someone who's maybe just getting into saunaing, and then, maybe they have an IR one, but they really want this, nice wood fired one? How does that work?
To me, any heat exposure is better than no heat exposure. So if all you have access to is an infrared sauna or a tent sauna or like a steam sauna that you buy at Costco, like, that is always gonna be better than no sauna at all. However, there's a cascading effect as well as a snowball effect of there's incremental like diminishing returns to it. So once you get accustomed to one modality, you kind of need to get a greater exposure and a greater heat threshold so you could keep adapting. But my recommendation for somebody that's just starting off is exactly what I was saying before, is you want consistent exposure for you to be able to have that ROI on your health long term. So if I'm somebody that's new to it, whether that's like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or 20 minutes at a time, just stick with what you know that you could handle. Monitor your heart rate if you have a heart rate monitor. You really should not be going above zone 2 when you're initially starting off. If you find yourself constantly going above zone 2 in the sauna early on, it's probably a indicator that either you're staying in too long or the heat's too high, and you should probably throttle it down a little bit until you get adjusted to it. And then over time, once you get acclimated, then increase your heat. So my recommendation for a lot of people that end up buying SISUs is don't just immediately crank it up to 200 degrees or 195 degrees, because that's what social media tells you. Start off at like 175 to 180, build your tolerance, and then slowly work up from there. Sometimes I'll tell people to start off at like 160 with some steam on the rocks and pour some water there. And that's arguably, like, it could be even tougher than 190. So it's just really, I'm a big believer of like taking a big believer of something called chunking, which is like literally take off the chunk that you could withstand now, that you could digest now,
Right.
acclimate, and then take off the next chunk and then the next chunk. And so that's a good way to, just like training, just like running, just like lifting, to approach sauna.
Yeah, it's great advice. It also leads well into my next topic. So you've completed 33 ultras. You mentioned the training, but talk to me about where your ultra journey started.
Yeah. So when I was 17 years old, I got peer pressured by my dad to go run a 50K after a late night out at a Cleveland Indians game. It was dollar hot dog night, actually. And I remember wrapping up, and we got home late because there was a rain delay at like 2 a.m. And my dad, my cousin, and I, my cousin's a Army Ranger. My dad, he had just started running marathons. We went and
Yeah.
did this trail 50K, and it was a 3-loop trail 50K, so 3 11-mile loops. And halfway through that second loop, I looked at my dad and I said, I'm done. I'm going to quit. The longest I'd ran prior was 6 miles. I'm 17 years old. It was like 95 degrees outside, super humid. And my dad looked at me and he said, "You're going to let a 48-year-old beat you?" And that was like all I needed to know. And I just remember moving like a zombie through the woods on the trails, and then finished that lap. And I was like, all right, what's one more? And just kept going. It was like a walk run to the finish. And I remember crying at the end, being like, wow, I'm so much more capable than I ever thought. And so ever since then, my dad and I, we've ran 3 to 4 ultras per year, typically 1 per quarter, a couple at the later end of the year, right around Christmas. And it's just become a really great bonding moment for my father and I. And so my
Yeah.
dad, since that time, has ran 160 marathons and ultra marathons, including 10 100-milers. And him and I went down to Antarctica and ran the Antarctica Ultra. It somehow won that ultra marathon. We've done a number of like crude races together, and it's just such a great thing for my father and I to bond over. And my dad actually ended up having a cancer bout and then a stroke. And this was about 3-4 years ago. And at that point, when he had this stroke, he had to actually relearn how to walk at that point. So you can imagine this like, real fit guy, multiple time Boston Marathon qualifier, having to relearn how to walk. It was actually 4 months after he had to relearn how to walk. He ran 40 miles at our first annual Hell on Hogsback charity race, which is a 12-hour max distance ultra marathon that we host in Cleveland out of respect to my father and to help fund cancer patients' health journeys. And so ultra running is just, to me, very similar to sauna. It's just this ultimate equalizer. It's the ultimate way to bond, get to know people. Some of my closest friends, we just go out and do 20, 30 miles at a time and loop in stupid things along the way because we can. And I think that's the point of life, is just being able to share great hard moments with people that you love, and sometimes people that you've never met before. And next thing you know, you're making great friends. So this year I've got a number of ultras on the books. I've got, I believe, 4 ultra marathons this year. We're doing 1 run across Ohio,
Okay.
which is the big one. It'll be from Cincinnati to Cleveland. A couple of my buddies / ambassadors of SISU will be joining. So it's a 4-person team running from Cincinnati to 326 miles, 80 miles per guy. And the goal is going to be able for everybody to sustain a sub 9-minute mile for the whole time, to be able to complete it in sub 48 hours. So it'll be 4 guys, 1 sprinter van, and raise money for Hell on Hogsback, our year 4 for our charity race.
That's awesome, man. Yeah.
It'll be good.
So badass.
So it'll be an amazing year.
Yeah. So I did my first ultra last January, and then I have the Malibu 100K in June, and then my first 100-miler will be the Saddles 100 in October.
Oh, congrats. Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're being really intelligent about scheduling these incrementally harder races leading up to it. It's the right way to do it. It also lets you be able to get exposure to your nutrition planning, your pace strategies, how you're going to approach your aid stations. Those are super critical things to the success of a long 100-miler plus race. I'm excited for you.
Thanks, man. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So it sounds like your dad was a huge inspiration, but were there any other like entrepreneurs, athletes, or people that influenced you throughout your career?
Yeah. So earlier in my career, and especially my first year of SISU, actually, another family member that really inspired me was my grandpa, Charlie. My grandpa, Charlie, who we actually ended up naming the Charlie Cabin Sauna after, as well as my daughter, Charlie. He was the chief marketing officer for Glidden Paints, which ended up getting bought out, I believe, by Sherwin-Williams. But he essentially was like the Don Draper in Mad Men, except like without the infidelity going on. But he was like one of the best creative minds, and he was just always so animated and a hard worker, roll up his sleeves, family oriented. And it just got me thinking a lot in my first year of SISU of like, how do I want this legacy brand to be, legacy community to be built? And it's really around that mantra of like, be creative, like have fun, like include people, like rooted in family, do the right things. And he was always that guy. And if you ask anybody that knew him, everybody's like, he was one of the best guys I've ever known. He's that guy that would do anything for you, never complained, always had a smile. And you knew immediately when you walked into the room. So my grandpa Charlie was a big inspiration. And then there's people along the way that I've always gravitated towards, like in the ultra endurance and like hybrid space. You have like the Goggins, the Haynes, the Bears of the world that have just done such a great job of showing like how far human potential could go and how far capacity could go.
100%.
Willis, like, balancing everything else going on. It's really, really incredible. But I found that to be inspiring, but also put me in a spot to where like I found myself comparing. And that's kind of like where I ended up finding my faith journey. In my faith journey, I found some really exceptional men that are very, very well-rounded. So a couple of those guys that I find to be extremely well-rounded, I've gathered so much inspiration and business wisdom from, are actually on our board of advisors. One is Nate Checketts, who's the founder and CEO of Roan, which is actually the hoodie that I'm wearing now. He's got a number of kids, building a 9-figure brand business, competing against the Vioris, the Lululemons of the world, but they're just undeniably Roan. He's one of those guys that's just super well balanced. Another guy is Trevor Farns, who's the founder and CEO of Mountain Ops. Same thing. Okay. Like rarely have I seen anybody be able to be as warm and as charismatic and as just vision oriented as a guy like that. And I'm not the guy that's in the weeds, detailed systems, processes, planner. I'm really like head up in the cloud, dreamer, visionary. And being able to be around guys like that and see how they've structured their life, but to be able to help protect their highest, best uses for the business is something I've really, really gravitated towards. And it's allowed me to be able to ask them questions. So as we build SISU, those are the guys that we have in our corner that have really helped me stay in line. And the very last person I'll say, I am extremely blessed to call my business partner, Nick Dattis at SISU, who's the other partner that we have in this. He's probably the most exceptional, well-rounded, like 5F guy, 5Fs being like faith, family, fitness, finance, and faculty. And like, he's so unbelievably well-rounded in that. And it's always in that order. So if something pops up onto his plate that is like in this like lower F realm or not even in those Fs, he's immediate no. Like if something has happened at work, but like something happens with family, like it's an immediate no with work. He's into it with family. And I found just be able to have that guy at my hip every single day. He's founder of University Tees. He opened up a local school here, started Iron Sharpens Iron men's retreat, like all these different things. It's just so inspiring. So I would say like those are like the cohorts of men that I found to just really be like those sharp people that forward to as my North Star.
Incredible list, man. And yeah, super important to have those kind of people in your corner.
In your realm, like who's your North Star? Like who are the people that you have on your radar as like people you look up to?
Right now in the ultra running community, I'm definitely Killian Korth. And I actually had him on the podcast a few weeks ago, but he's inspired me to just, push my limits. And then, my dad as well, huge inspiration. He's more of a biker. So he just did his first 100-mile bike ride.
Oh man, good for him. Yeah. So think about how cool it is. Like you're doing it. And as a result, he's also feeling like, all right, well, if my son's doing it, I have to get out there and do it. So you guys are both sharpening where you're going. That's so cool. That's so special. Keep doing it, man.
What is in Peter's flow stack?
Oh, so I prepped this before, but I think I'm going to butcher it. So whatever I sent to you prior, like today, like what I use today for my flow state might be a little bit different than what I sent you prior.
Okay.
What I believe is in my flow state right now today, because I'm running a marathon worth of miles outside in the snow, are my Hoka speed goats. My speed goats have Gore-Tex, like the whole thing, because it is very deep snow here in Cleveland, Ohio. I've got my half-gallon hydro jug with my SISU electrolytes to be able to stay replenished. There you go, man. Yeah, perfect. I have my SISU sauna, my SISU crew cabin sauna, which I will end up being in later on tonight, probably for 20 minutes, just for some recovery work. Probably will not do the cold plunge today just because of how cold it is outside. I'm probably pretty good there. I will be wearing my Koros Vertex S2, which has been amazing for being able to keep track of my miles and just a ton of great data. I also just got the Coros arm strap that I'm starting to experiment with now as well for heart rate, which I'm pumped for.
Yeah.
I'm a 1 to 2 cup a day coffee drinker. So this morning, my wife and I on Monday mornings go and do a coffee date together. So that Monday morning coffee date coffee, which wasn't much of a coffee date this morning because we have a 6-week-old baby that derailed the date in a good way. I mean, it's come to be expected, but that coffee is just so nice. And then the very, very last thing I would say, especially over the last 3 weeks, is a supplement called NAC, which is a great building block for glutathione. Just with how cold it's been and like how much we've been outside and with all the kids inside, it's super easy to get sick. We've got 3 kids at home and I just feel like it's kind of like hot potato with stuff. So NAC has been a really, really good supplement for me keeping my lungs and my congestion down. So in the snow, I'm wearing Hoka Speed Goats, which are my trail runners. I'm experimenting a little bit this year. So I've got a marathon in May that I'll be sending it fast on. In the past, I've been wearing a Hoka Mach X, which is a plastic plated shoe, but I've never actually worn a carbon plated shoe before. I ran a 128 half November. I was at like a 208 body weight. My goal's at the marathon to be at a 195 body weight. So I'm about 10 pounds off of that right now. So if I could get a good super shoe, I'm not sure what that's going to be either. If it's an Alpha Fly or a Brooks, I'll do it. But I don't want to spend too much money on a super shoe, knowing I'll probably only wear it a few times. My everyday runner, though, historically has been a Hoka Clifton for a lot of my like long mile weeks. Otherwise it's been outside of that, it's actually been a Nike Pegasus. I think the Nike Pegasus is back. I think that there was about 10 years or so that the Pegasus was kind of dull or got a little bit too narrow, but I think the new Nike Pegasus is actually a pretty good everyday runner if you're in that 30 to 40 mile per week club.
What about fueling during your runs? What do you like for fuel?
Yeah, so what I'll do typically right now, and I'm a big believer of BPN when it comes to love Nick, love what they're doing, also like the quality of the product. But I'll do a Go Bar prior with honey, some sort of like fruit juice, whether it's like orange juice or apple juice. Sometimes I'll sneak it from the kids' apple juice container that we have in the fridge, and then during the run, I'll have Go Gels and then some sort of like liquid carb, which could be like a 1M Sport. Sometimes I've done like waxy maize or like a different maltodextrin if I don't have G1M on me.
For sure. Yeah. Huge fan of BPN. I like all their products. Right now, though, I'm on the maple syrup kick. So I've just been using the untapped pure maple syrup, and that's been my go-to the last month at least.
I know a lot of people that love untapped. I can't get myself to just do maple syrup straight up yet. I think it's going to be like acquired taste, you know?
Yeah. I follow this guy at Morning Coffee. I don't know if you know who that is. I follow him on Instagram. He's like the king of maple syrup. He swears by it. And I saw that post like a month and a half ago, and I've been trying it the last 4 weeks and no stomach issues, like feeling really good. Yeah, it's been good. Yeah.
I mean, what I always tell people, like whatever works for you that you can digest and you get energy from, double down on it. You never need to like over complicate it. Sometimes like, to me, when I'm doing ultras or these long things, I'm 80-ish to 100 grams of carbs per hour, roughly 400 calories per hour.
Yep.
It's really boring, but like that,
you have to do it though.
I'm going to do it.
Cool, man. This has been an awesome podcast. Where can people find you and SISU?
Yeah, so you could find me. You can find SISU at sisulifestyle.com or SISU_sauna on Instagram. You can find me on Instagram at Peter Nelson II. Same thing with YouTube and LinkedIn.
Cool, man. Best of luck with your races the rest of the year. And we'll do this again in a few years.
Sounds good.